Well, good morning, folks. Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. Welcome to the Jeff Daugherty Show. Christian Whistleblower, New Cosmic Knowledge YouTube channel. Aliens, extraterrestrials, UFOs. We do talk about them quite a bit on this channel. And the reason that we talk about them is that my conviction that there's going to be a false flag event orchestrated by the Lord and UFO, ET, alien imagery. He's been leveraging it for 2,000 years in conjunction with the New Testament. And the Apostle John showed us that when he is going to try to do his final false flag, one that I believe we are in the process of preventing, that he will try in some way to leverage UFO, ET, and alien imagery. I'm looking at blueplanet.com, I believe I'm at. Let's see. No, we're at bibliotechapellades.net. But this Blue Planet purports to be a compilation of data on ET life forms based on secret government technology, government information, government inquiry. Now, whether or not it really is, the question here is not, are these people all crazy, half crazy, 25% crazy, or are they right on the money? The idea is that their ideas here compose and comprise most of the ideas that we get about alien, UFO, ET, imagery and technology, and that anything that comes in the future, any type of false flag, will be based on this type of information. So I thought it'd be a good idea to go through this information, give you an idea of what is actually happening, what's going to be leveraged, let you know where it comes from, and again, to be forewarned is to be forearmed. So and plus it's actually pretty interesting. So, among the statements and beliefs is that the U.S. government has conducted autopsies on alien cadavers, and they call the Greys the most significant alien specimens. And trust me, we're going to have a whole bunch of pictures here. They are supposedly between about 3.5 and 4.5 feet tall. The head, by human standards, is large compared with the body. Look at that head. It's like Sputnik. It's like an orange on a toothpick. I don't know if you've seen that movie or not. But the eyes are, of course, large, far apart, distended, slightly slanted as an oriental. No earlobes. The mouth is a small slit. Most observers describe these Greys as being hairless. Some of the bodies have a slight hair patch on top of the head. Others appear with what appears to be a silver skull cap. So that's the Greys. The arms are usually long, thin, reaching down to the knees, 4 fingers, no thumbs, 3 fingers longer than the others. The skin is gray, beige, tan, pinkish gray. No reproductive organs are visible, no phallus, no womb. Of course, that probably came from the autopsies. That suggests cloning is their current reproductive method. They appear to be a mold, sharing identical racial and biological characteristics. There's no blood, as we know it, but there is a fluid which is grayish in color. So part of the lore of the, and that's kind of the standard. We've all seen the movies. We all know what the Greys are. Now, part of the lore is that some of these aliens actually started here on Earth, which is very, very interesting. And if you look at this diagram here, it shows where some of the human evolution which started centuries ago when disaster struck, involving 7 different alien races, it brought them to Earth. So this information comes from Project Genesis 3. Whatever in the world that is. But they think that some of the unanswered questions about human evolution, the seeds of them actually started years ago when these disasters struck, and a mission involving 7 ancient alien races coming to Earth. And these are supposed crash sites. A white race crash somewhere, looks like in North America. A black race of aliens crashed down in South America. So did the yellow race, the blue race out here in the ocean. I guess that's the Pacific, right? The green race and the red race down in the South Pacific. And the golden race down there at the tip of South America. So there's a white race of aliens. There's a black race of aliens. There's a yellow race of aliens, a blue race, a green race, and a red race, and a golden race. Very, very interesting. They've got this all worked out very, very methodically, don't they? I'm just wondering why none of these aliens went to Europe. That's just me, though. Now this talks about, I guess these are names of these different guys, and they've even got an org chart here. That's pretty impressive. Okay, they're out to control. They've got different groups of them. They've got different missions of what they want to try to do. Here's a star map, which looks like absolutely nothing to me, but they said it was recovered from a crashed alien craft. So, for what it's worth, there's a star map. Now, there's an ultra-terrestrial code, Ultron. This alien is created in the centers of quasars, a type of sensitive energy living in the center of pure energy, and is a component more stable than the material Solioa that's found in our quasar. So there's like an alien essence as well. Interesting. The Ultrons are an entity composed of mental energy. We are the Metrons. That's Star Trek. So the Ultrons are kind of like the Metrons. It's mental energy that's strong in the visible, ultraviolet, and kappa radiation bands. Nodes are 4 serve as the origin of the Ultron's radiant emissions. They emit between 103.2 to 112 angstrom units. Interesting. The radioactive nature of Ultrons, a non-corporeal being, is best suited by the Hutchison radiation analysis. In this case, the life aura of the Ultrons, or the Metrons, are strongest in the ultraviolet range. Now, I'm not... Yeah, okay. So the Ultrons, the Greys. The Ultrons, the Greys, of course, are, I guess, kind of like a cloned, almost a robotic automaton type of a being. The Metron, I keep wanting to say the Metrons now. The Ultrons are mental energy. And then we have people from outside the Earth dimension time-space at the planet Earth from the ancestral time. So these guys came to Earth several eons ago, and now Terra, or Earth, is their planet too. We talk here about the 7th largest race. We found 2 large races living below the 4 Earth capades. Wow. So there's the reptoids. We've all heard about the reptoids. And these wouldn't, I don't know if these would be the shape-shifting reptoids, but these are definitely reptoids that you see their phylum, their class. They survive only close to specific devices. And they're reptoids. They live at a former society and have a high degree of technology. So these reptoids, I guess they live underground, and they have a high degree of technology. 2.2 meters tall, females about half a meter short. They weigh about 200 kilograms. They are, their temperatures or body temperature are, linked to the environment like you'd expect from a reptile. Boy, we even know their pulse, their blood pressure, their life expectancy, about 60 years for a male. The female only 23 years. I wonder why. Do the males eat them? Kind of like a reverse Black Widow. I know I'm probably upsetting people by being lighthearted about it, but it just seems so hard to believe and so fantastical. But the fact of the matter is that this information we're sharing, it's what people base their belief on, ETs, UFOs, aliens on, and it's what any future false flag would kind of be based around, this information, this dominant perception. So I know you've all been waiting for it. There's a picture of the Type A male reptoid and his fancy hat. Interesting. So that's male reptoid Type A. Male reptoid Type B. You know, it's interesting because we looked at that those pictures. I got to show you that. We looked at those pictures from one of my subscribers the other day, and we're thinking, oh, that looks just like a Nosferatu. But now taking a look at this reptoid, makes me think a little bit. Let's take a look at that picture real quick. Now, I was totally convinced that this guy looked just like a Nosferatu, and I'm still pretty convinced that he looked just like a Nosferatu. But if we, look at it with a little bit of a different focus, as we're thinking about our reptilian buddies, this, is the back of his head, and he's got this long kind of black cape on, so he looks very Nosferatu to me. But then when you look at him from this angle again, and you can see that he's got, now you start thinking about, is he a Nosferatu? And this was, I don't remember where this was taken. I believe it's in the U.S. But I mean, that to me looks like a definite type of a being. Long arms, hands, spindly body. Maybe it's an old reptilian, but if you look at him, and then you get your idea of these Type B, Type Baker reptoids, you look at that face, and you look at that face, you almost start to wonder, did somebody maybe catch a peek at one of these Type B reptilians? Makes me wonder. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of an interesting little throw-in from our study the other day. So the Type B reptoids, and of course we got the Type A, he looks kind of benign to me. If I saw him in a dark alley, I probably wouldn't be as scared as if I saw this guy right here. This guy looks, like I said, he looks like a Nosferatu. He looks creepy to me. They're cold-blooded like all reptiles. They flourish in a warm tropical climate. Normal, artificial at the big caves, with imperfect respiration providing just enough oxygen to supply tissues and maintain the processing of food and combustion. Their temperatures can be raised only a few degrees above the ambient, which is the prevailing temperature. They lay eggs. The underdeveloped reptoid results in a slowness and a simpler movement. The eyes composed of thousands of microscopic facets. Interesting. They survive hidden inside the earth, except for times when people snap pictures of them, like this one. Maybe. Very interesting. And I guess this is a Type C reptile. He looks fairly benevolent too, doesn't he? Or not benevolent, but benign. This is the only guy that looks really scary to me. But so far we got an A-type reptilian, or reptoid, racist living underground, a B-type. And you see a lot of this imagery in the movies. You see a lot of this imagery in the movies too. So do these images come from the movies, or do the movies come from these images, right? Which came first, the reptoid or the egg? LA Times, 1988. Man swears that he was attacked while changing a tire in the middle of the Ore Swamp in South Carolina, 7 feet tall, red eyes, 3 fingers on each hand. Their car got chewed up. It was the lizard man, supposedly, as the locals are calling him. Interesting. The sheriff was also swamped from people claiming to have seen this slimy critter, and these people are reputable people, the sheriff said. So I don't know if they're talking about this kind of a critter. He looks a little bit slimy to me. But there's sightings there in South Carolina, the lizard man. And that was reported for some reason in the LA Times. Another one from the Herald Examiner, or Uzzard man, 7 feet tall, red eyes. Interesting. So there's your reptoids, Class C, Class B, Class A, and I assume that's not, in any ascending or descending order. They're just listed there. A couple of LA newspaper accounts of that. Now we also have insectoids. I've heard some talk of insectoids in the astral realm. I haven't really heard much talk of insectoids as far as actual beings here on the earth, but let's learn about the insectoids. They live 130 years, the men. Here, the males live 150 years. So the males are more short-lived than the females, directly opposite of the reptoids. Interesting. And these insectoids are small, under 2 meters. They only weigh about 70 70 kilos. Interesting. They're very hot. Their body temperature is 102. And it kind of looks like an ant guy, right? So these are the master insectoids, type 1. Oh, the insectoid servants. Now you see a lot of this type of imagery. Kind of like Ant-Man, huh? So there's the masters, here's the servants. You can tell these are kind of drone-ish, right? Just kind of do what they're told, get their instructions, beep, 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 and go out and do what they do. And of course, these look like, they're a little more cerebral. So they're a little bit more like us, so they obviously have to be a little bit smarter, right? But the master insectoids and the drone insectoids, interesting. They see in tones of gray. They have great depth perception. They can hear really well, much better than humans. And they listen with their heads slightly tilted downwards because they're trying to get stuff picked up in their antennae. Interesting. You can see the little hairs on the end of their antennae to help increase their stuff. And they have a limited exoskeleton, or an outside skeleton. So they're kind of got, maybe you could think of that as body armor. So now there's also green people. They are part of the survivors, and they also live in inner Earth. Then there's the Caspon Jason, or the golden race. They survive inside a big group of mountains at the orient part of Earth. The Eternals, they're from the Altairs. They live for eons because they've slowed down their aging. The blue race, they say that the blue race were the people that created Mu, Lemuria, and Atlantis. They now live in inner Earth, and there are some Atlanteans living underwater. And then there's the deviants. No, those aren't your people across the street. Those are the surviving people that mutated from the insectoids. Very dangerous and primitive. The Legends of Demons was born from these underground deviant races. Interesting. So deviants are mutants from the Casimir insectoids. Interesting. And they're responsible for the legends of demons. So let's take a look. Oh, wow. Yeah, so this is the deviant. Check him out. Looks vampiric, looks demonic. You can see some of the insectoid type of features. He's got his horns. What's a good devil without some horns, right? Interesting stuff. And then we've got these aliens that are from another time-space continuum. And meta-terrestrials. They're visitors from another time and space. They're time travelers. They're a crossbreed between humans from Earth and extraterrestrials from Zeta Reticuli, from one of our possible futures. So this could be you in many, many years. Or maybe this is you come back from many, many years to now. But you can again see the archetype that we're used to seeing and associating with aliens. It's possible there could be other races. We just don't have enough data yet. The Close Encounters was an example of these guys. Interesting. And then there's paraterrestrials that come from the multiverse. It says we just don't know enough about them. They look like jelly. Kind of like a Horta on Star Trek, only Horta wasn't gelatinous. And then there's the Mook. I'm sorry, I find them kind of funny. They are very small. They're hungry. They got long arms and 3 fingers, and they wear furry clothes. Or are they just furry and they wear clothes? I don't know. The Mooks. The Wadig looks like a primitive primate, but he's an intelligent being. Never wears clothes. Of course, I know what you're thinking. And I'm thinking the same thing, right? Because it looks like a Bigfoot. And if Bigfoot has been around for as long as Bigfoot has been around, and Bigfoot hasn't been caught, then Bigfoot would have to be intelligent, right? And this particular Bigfoot goes to the gym because he's got a six-pack going on. So, is a Bigfoot, and there's been talk more so lately about an extraterrestrial connection with the Bigfoot, so maybe the Bigfoot is actually the Wadig, and the Wadig is an alien from a multi-universe. And I think the old $6 million man Bigfoot, no, he was a robot. Interesting. Interesting. Now we're getting back to the Greys. They're from the third dimension or from outside Earth. They're wrongly designated alien life forms because the other 5 are alien life forms also. All 6 types are alien life forms. They say there's 160 different species in our biosphere from several points in the universe. Interesting. 5 alien races that stayed much longer and have had much more influence during our history. The Type A from Rigel, they're the Greys. Interesting, Rigel is in Star Trek lore. The Reticules, the Orions, the Pleiades, or Nordics, and those from the Barnard Star or the Oranges. Interesting. The EBEs, extraterrestrial bodily entity. That was the alien captured at the 1947 Roswell crash site. Interesting. The Krill was the hostage left with us at the first Holloman landing, with the pledge that aliens would carry out their part of the basic agreement reached during that meeting. Krill gave us the foundation of the Yellow Book, which was completed by the alien guests at a later day. Krill became sick and was nursed back to health, and this information was supposedly kept by the government, and that Krill became the Brazilian ambassador to the U.S. Now, there are some rumors that Krill has died. So again, this is like an alien roadmap that was taken from inside of a crashed ship. So this shows the path they take to get from where they are to where we are. So we have a roadmap. We know their main routes, and then we know their alternate routes. Very interesting. And again, this is the basis for all the ET, UFO, alien lore that will be leveraged in any upcoming false flag. Now here we go. I guess all these other ones were fairly, except for the, what was that one crazy dude called? The Deviant. I guess the rest of these are fairly benign, because now we're getting into what these guys are calling the malevolent alien life forms, the Regillians. And that's how they typically look. Between 3 to 5 feet. They stand up straight, long, thin legs. They have a thin build, big heads. No ears, no hair, big tear-shaped eyes. Opaque black with vertical slit pupils like cats. Small mouth, thin, straight lips. Arms resemble a praying mantis. Go down to the knee, gray skin, reptile-like, small feet with 4 claws. They have a non-functioning digestive system and 2 separate brains. The digestive system that were examined were atrophied, conforming to the absence of provisions in the recovered crash. Slow, precise movements. They must eat on human blood and other human biological substances. If they have to, they can eat animals. Wow. 2 brains. They lie. We know where their base is. And they have an underwater base where they do mining, and they have big cigar-shaped craft. So if you see one of these guys, run, because they eat humans. And he bears some resemblance too to our dude here, doesn't he? So this may be worse than a Nosferatu. And this talks about what happened with the Rigel connection. Alien bases in the sun. What we got about Bill Cooper? A general description of papers that contain documents that discuss Bill Cooper. So I guess, did Bill Cooper have to do with these guys? Interesting. So here's where Greys live, the Regillian bases. They've got one in Fairbanks, they got one in Groom Lake, Nevada, Dulce, New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, California, Texas, Florida, Georgia, Maine, New York, New Jersey, Wyoming, the Atlantic Ocean, and on the moon. No reports of bases in Europe, Asia, or any of these other places. Very, very interesting. So that gives you a real good idea. The Type A's are the large-nosed grays. They're the ones with whom our government has a treaty. Oh, there you go. Take me to your leader types. The Type B's are from Zeta Reticula 1. We also have a treaty with these guys. They look a little more nasty than these guys, huh? Then there's the Type C. They're from Zeta Reticula 2. These are the ones that research us and our planet. Wow. Very interesting. And there's also a red-haired humanoid type. And we're not going to have a picture of them. They can also have a beard sometimes. So this gives you a good idea of the whole of E.T. lore that shows us, you know, what people are thinking about, where they came to on Earth. And then, of course, a lot of pictures. There's star charts. This is the energetic aliens. And then you got your different types of reptilians, reptoids. And then we come down and we have our insectoids. And then, of course, we've got our deviants. That's where demons lore comes from. And then you got these meta-terrestrials from another time in space. Then you got these, what are they called? The mooks, the Bigfoots, and your different types of grays. Very interesting stuff. Now, again, true or not, we don't know. But the point of showing this to you is that it is the basis for what any false flag attempt would come from. So, forewarned is forearmed. Now we know a lot more about aliens than we did before. So, feel free to study on this. And I'll post the link to the site in the box below. Thank you for watching. I'll be back later today with some more interesting discussions. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower, encouraging you to unindoctrinate yourself and be excellent to each other.